Okay, it appears we are live. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Mike, and let me be sure I've got this right. Yep. Okay. Test, test. Yep, you can hear me. I see the audio moving. All right. I'm going to finish simulating a comparison between Second and 10 and Pro Strategy Football. And what I've been doing is there's a series of other videos. If you want to check out my channel and look at them, I've been comparing these two games decade by decade. And what I do is I sim an entire regular season all the way through the playoffs and the Super Bowl. And I'm seeing which game has more accuracy in predicting who wins, who gets there, that sort of thing. And I started in the 1970s because that's after that was at the point of the merger, and it would just be easier to simulate games. Uh, versus going between NFL and AFL and all of that. So I just had a starting point in 1970. So what I'm going to show you now is uh, where we are in simulating entire decades. Again, there are some prior videos, and this is where we're at. Now, the yellow segment is second and 10 results. The red section is Pro Strategy Football results, and the blue on the far right are actual results of the given games. And this top section, this was the 1970s, and as a recap, second and 10 correctly predicted two AFC champions, three NFC champions. They didn't predict the two teams that actually made the matchup in that decade, but they did predict two Super Bowl champions. In comparison, in the red, Pro Strategy Football predicted three AFC champions correctly, three NFC champions correctly. They did not predict the actual matchup, but Pro Strategy Football did predict four Super Bowl champions, and actually the last four in a row from 76 to 79. I'll scroll here, and here's the 80s decade. Second and 10 correctly predicted. Let's go back up to the 70s. Uh, when it comes to the totals, you have to give a slight advantage to Pro Strategy Football for the results. They had one more AFC champion than the second and 10 did, predicting the result. They both had three for NFC champions, and Pro Strategy Football had four Super Bowl champions compared to two for second and 10. Now, as we look at the 80s, second and 10 had four AFC and four NFC champions. They correctly predicted three of the actual matchups for the decade, and they predicted one Super Bowl champion, where Pro Strategy Football correctly predicted five, half of the AFC champions, six, just over half of the NFC champions, three of the actual matchups, and three of the Super Bowl champions. So in this case, Pro Strategy Football correctly predicted one more AFC champion in the 80s and second at 10, two more NFC champions. They both games are tied with three predictions of actual matchups. And Pro Strategy Football correctly predicted three Super Bowl winners versus one for second and 10. Now we go to the 90s. Second and 10 had predicted two AFC champions, half of the NFC champions. They predicted one matchup correctly, and they predicted four Super Bowl champions. Pro Strategy Football, again in red, correctly predicted three AFC champions, five NFC champions, two of the matchups, and three of the actual champions. So in this one, with the 1990s, the Pro Strategy Football was slightly better for AFC champions, and both games accurately predicted half of the NFC champions. Pro Strategy Football had two Super Bowl matchups correctly predicted versus one of second and 10, but second and 10 correctly predicted one more Super Bowl champion than Pro Strategy Football in the 90s. And we go to the 2000s. And Second and 10 correctly predicted one AFC champion, two NFC champions. They did not get any matchups correct, and they predicted one Super Bowl champion. Where Pro Strategy Football correctly predicted three AFC champions, five, half of the NFC champions. They got two matchups correct, but they did not predict a Super Bowl champion. So Pro Strategy Football has the advantage over Second and 10, short of Second and 10 in the 2000s did pick a Super Bowl champion correctly, where Pro Strategy Football did not. So where we are now is we're going to sim the 2010s decade. And again, on the far right in the blue, you will see the actual result. So we will start with Second and 10. I currently have the 2010 season loaded. I will quick play that season, and while that's going on, here's Pro Strategy Football. I have already loaded the 2010 season. We will simulate everything, including the playoffs. The Super Bowl champion is matchup, and champion has already been sim. But I'm going to go over here to Second and 10, create a playoff, and we'll quick play the playoff. And in this game, we have the New England Patriots defeating the Philadelphia Eagles 30-27. In reality, this was the Green Bay Packers defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's go to our spreadsheet, and we have New England 30, Philadelphia 27. The game did not predict the AFC champion, NFC champion, the matchup, or the actual Super Bowl champion. So we will now go to Pro Strategy Football, and let's see what the result was. We have the New England Patriots defeating the Chicago Bears. Again, neither of these teams are correct. New England wins 28-22. Okay. And neither of these are correct. So no advantage for either game. So now we will go to the 2011 season, and I will quick play that. Go to Pro Strategy Football, and I'm going to load the 2011 season. Okay, that's the correct playoff setup, and we'll send that season. We have a result. Now I'm going to do the playoffs for Second and 10. This is 2011 season. This should be, if it's going to be accurate, the Giants defeating the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And we get the Patriots in the Super Bowl, so they got the AFC champion correct, only they defeat San Francisco. So 26-23 New England for Second and 10. So we have the AFC champion correct for Second and 10. So now we will look at the result for Pro Strategy Football, and we have the Green Bay Packers defeating the New England Patriots. Pro Strategy Football also got New England correct, and they had them facing Green Bay, and that was the year they went 15-1. So Green Bay wins 33-28. We have the AFC representative correct, and that's it. Yeah, make this flush left. Okay. All right, we will now go to the 2012 season. And I'll quick play that. And while that's going on, I'm going to jump over here and do the 2012 season for Pro Strategy Football. Okay. And we'll simulate the whole thing. We have that Super Bowl champion already. Going to create a playoff here for 2nd and 10. And this should be the Baltimore Ravens defeating the San Francisco 49ers. And we get the Chicago Bears defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-18. So neither of those is correct. What's the score again? 20-18. Okay, so neither of those is correct for 2nd and 10. Let's see what Pro Strategy Football gave us. We have San Francisco defeating Cincinnati. Well, San Francisco was in the Super Bowl, but they lost to Baltimore. So 2nd and 10. Pro Strategy Football has San Francisco defeating Cincinnati. What did we say? 17-10? Yes. So they got the NFC representative correct, but nothing more. Hello, Alan, and hello, Al. Glad you're tuning in. Okay. Let's see where we're at here. We will now do the 2013 season. Okay. Oops. And quick play it. And while that's going on, let's load Pro Strategy Football 2013. This is the year the Seahawks defeated the Denver Broncos. Okay. All right. Pro Strategy Football has our winner already. Let's create a playoff here for 2nd and 10. And 2nd and 10 gives us the Philadelphia Eagles against the Indianapolis Colts. And Indianapolis wins 41-34. Neither of these teams are correct. Indianapolis wins 41-34. So neither of those are correct. 2nd and 10, Pro Strategy Football's result. We get the actual matchup. We get Seattle against Denver. Only in this case, Denver wins 25-10. Make all of this flush left. There we go. So we got the AFC representative correct, the NFC representative correct. We have the actual matchup, but not the right champion. Okay. We will now move on to 2014. And this was the year New England defeated Seattle. We'll quick play that. '14. And we have a Super Bowl winner there. Let's go to 2nd and 10 and create a playoff. And we'll quick play it. And we have, ironically, Seattle and Denver for 2014. And Seattle lost, which they lost to New England, but this is 2014, so Denver wins 27-13. So the NFC representative is correct for 2nd and 10. And let's see what Pro Strategy Football gave us. This is supposed to be New England against Seattle. And we got New Orleans against Houston, and New Orleans wins 26-23. So neither of those is right. Okay. We will now move to 2015. And this is the year Denver defeated Carolina. We'll quick play that. I'll set up Pro Strategy Football. That's 2015 schedule. And that is the correct playoff setup. And we simulate it, and we have our Super Bowl 50 champion with Pro Strategy Football. I'm going to, whoops. Okay. And we'll quick play. And wow, we got the actual Super Bowl matchup with 2nd and 10. Denver and Carolina, only Carolina wins 27-17. So 2nd and 10 gave us the AFC, gave us the AFC and the NFC matchup correct. And the actual Super Bowl matchup, we did not get the right champion. Okay. And let's see what Pro Strategy Football did. Again, this should be Denver defeating Carolina. And we get Denver, they're in it, but they lose to Arizona. Arizona, I remember, was 13-3 and lost the NFC Championship to Carolina. So Arizona wins this 36-33. Oops. So we have the AFC. Whoops, I put NFC. We have the AFC representative correct, but that is it. All right. We move on to 2016. Let's do 2nd and 10 first. 2016. And we will quick play that season while I set up Pro Strategy Football. All right, this was the year the Patriots defeated the Falcons. All right, so that's ready to go. And we'll sim. And we have a Super Bowl champion there. And we're going to do one now for 2nd and 10. We'll get the 2nd and 10 result first. And we get New England, but they played the Giants, and the Giants won 27-20. So we have the AFC representative correct for 2nd and 10, but we have the Giants defeating them 27-20. Okay, so we have the AFC correct. Let's see what Pro Strategy Football did. We have Kansas City squeaking out a win against Seattle. And neither of these teams are correct. Well, let's put this in. Kansas City wins 33-31. Neither of those is correct. We now move to 2017. And this was the year the Eagles defeated the Patriots. We'll quick play that. Oops. 2017. Load schedule. Okay, whoop. There we go. And there's the playoffs. have a champion there. Let's go through 2nd and 10. And quick play. Again, this should be Philadelphia defeating New England. And we get New Orleans defeating Pittsburgh 47-24. And neither of those is correct. Okay, let's see what Pro Strategy Football gave us. We have Pittsburgh defeating Minnesota. And neither of those is correct. Actually, this is 2017. I remember the Steelers actually played the Vikings in the regular season and did beat them in Pittsburgh. So this is Pittsburgh 32, Minnesota 26. So neither of those is right for either simulation. We move on to 2018. And I'll quick play that. While that's going on, let's set up a 2018 season here. And this should be New England defeating the LA Rams. Whoops, I had it right. There we go. And we have a Super Bowl winner there. Let's take a look at 2nd and 10. This should be New England defeating the LA Rams. And we get the Saints defeating the Chiefs. And both of these teams were in their respective conference championships. Interesting. So New Orleans wins 41-38. And neither of those is correct. Okay, let's see what Pro Strategy Football gave us. New Orleans defeating Baltimore 23-17. Wow. Okay, 2018. One more to go. All right, 2019. I'll quick sim that for 2nd and 10. And we go to Pro Strategy Football. 2019. I need a 2019 schedule. There it is. All right. And we have a winner for Pro Strategy Football. Let's create a playoff for, create a playoff here for 2nd and 10. Now this should be Kansas City defeating San Francisco. And we get Baltimore defeating Seattle. Baltimore 29-24 over Seattle. And neither of those is correct. So let's see what Pro Strategy Football gave us. Baltimore losing to New Orleans. So both games actually had Baltimore in the Super Bowl at least. And that was the year Baltimore went 14-2. And had that incredible year with Jackson. That's actually the best regular season record the Ravens ever had. New Orleans wins 27-14. Okay, so neither of those is right. Now, that being said, let's tabulate. 2nd and 10 for the 2010s gave us 3 correct AFC champions. Here, okay, it did center. Let me center. It did center. Okay. 2nd and 10 gave us 2 correct NFC champions. They gave us 1 correct matchup and no correct predictions on a champion. Pro Strategy Football gave us 3 AFC champions, just like 2nd and 10 did. They gave us 2 NFC champions just like Second and 10 did. They gave us one actual matchup, just like Second and 10 did, and they did not give us a champion. Well, look at that. That's a tie. I mean, that is a straight up tie between Second and 10 and Pro Strategy Football. A flat out tie. So, for the heck of it, it's a different decade, but since I'm recording this, let's see what each does for 2020. This won't count in the equation, but I'm just doing it for fun. All right, let's get the 2020 season. That's the one that says final on it. Okay. And that's 2020. And there should be a pandemic schedule. There it is, the 2020 pandemic schedule. So I'm being true to what the actual games were. We'll sim that whole thing. Okay. Now this is this past Super Bowl, and this is when the Buccaneers defeated the Chiefs. And we get Seattle defeating Buffalo. Interesting. And let's see what Pro Strategy Football gave us. Green Bay defeating Baltimore. So neither of these was right. Buffalo was one of the better teams. Green Bay was good as well. So interesting. So neither of these gave us a right result. But again, I was just doing that for fun. So let's do a tabulation of everything and see what our grand total is from 1970 to 2019. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 12. 12 AFC champions in 40 years, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 50 years. That is what Second and 10 predicted. 12 out of the 50 AFC champions right. Let's see what they did for NFC. 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16. They got 16 NFC champions correct. Matchups, none. So it's 3, 1 is 4, none, 5. Gave us 5 matchups correctly out of 50 years. Champions, 2, 3, 7, 8, 8. Okay. Let me go ahead and tabulate Pro Strategy Football overall, and then we'll compare. 3 for AFC, we're doing AFC. 3 and 5 is 8. 3 is 11. 3 is 14. And that makes it 17. And for the NFC, 3 and 6 is 9. And 5 is 14. And 5 is 19. And 2 is 21. Matchups, none. 3 and 2 is 5. And 2 is 7. And 1 is 8. Champions, 4 and 3 is 7. 3 is 10. None. None. 10. Okay. Let me center all this. All right. Here's our grand total. Yellow is Second and 10. Red is Pro Strategy Football. From 1970 to 2019. So we're talking 50 years, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. We're talking 50 years. Again, let me do this so that make it a little bit easier. Copy that. Okay. So second and 10 gave us 12 AFC champions correct out of 50, 16 NFC champions correct out of 50, five matchups correct out of 50, and eight Super Bowl champions out of 50. Compared to, why is that showing up? I don't know why. Hmm. It's weird. Okay. Well, red is Pro Strategy Football. Let me put it over here. There it goes. Okay. Pro Strategy Football in red gave us 17 AFC champions correct out of 50 years, 21 NFC champions correct out of 50 years, 8 matchups out of 50 years, and 10 champions out of 50 years. So, uh, Pro Strategy Football has 5 more AFC champions correctly predicted than second and 10, has 5 more NFC champions correctly predicted at versus second and 10, has 3 more matchups correctly predicted versus second and 10, and has 2 more NFL champions correctly predicted over second and 10. So the advantage here, I guess, is right in front of you. But now I say all this, but I just simmed each game one time, each season, excuse me, one time. Uh, this is rolling the dice. If I did this a second time, you might take these totals and reverse them. You could have second and 10 with Pro Strategy Football numbers and Pro Strategy Football with second and 10 numbers. This was just one time, one sim, one result, and there we are. So I hope that this was fun and comparing these two great simulations. And there's no, like Uncle Ron says, there's no perfect game. And he's right, there isn't. So each has its pros and cons, but I hope that this little presentation uh, gave you a little enjoyment and in comparing these two really good games. I recommend them both. You can't go wrong with either one. So with that, I'm going to bid everybody a good night and enjoy.